The crowned one.
The crowned one.
What's up, guys? How's it going? Glad to have you back here at the Crown One. And it has been a banner week for SDCC, including Marvel. So Marvel has returned to Hall H. They did not show up last year, but they've returned with a big bang. So we're going to talk about some of that stuff at the SDCC. So if you guys are enjoying the content, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell for latest updates on the latest uploads for the latest content. Right, so back at Hall H is none other than Marvel. They've returned with the full list. That's going to be that Avengers Doomsday, that new trailer that just got released, let's say a couple days ago. I just watched it again. It seems like a pretty awesome trailer. Now, we have Robert Downey Jr. Returning to his role, and also Chris Evans returning as the original Captain America. As we saw when he calls back Mjolnir, we all kind of tripped out, you know. So, yeah, it's going to be... It's gonna release December 18th of this year. So I don't know. You know, we'll get into it. Also, there was a Spaceballs, the new one that's going to be I think released next year. I think like springtime next year. And a new series is coming out on HBO Max, which is the Lanterns. Those that are not initiated, that's Green Lanterns for the Green Lantern Corps. Plus, you're going to have some other lanterns in there from what I understand, from what I saw in the trailer. They got Sinestro. So let me not spoil it too much. Let's go ahead and get into it. So talking about Avengers Doomsday, which was the main event for Hall H over at the SDCC. And again, that's talking about RDJ, Robert Downey Jr., debuting his role as Dr. Doom with a thick accent as Thor rallies the heroes and the bearded Steve Rogers returns and lifts Mjolnir just for some authentication purposes to make sure not some scroll or some clone or something like that. The massive crossover energy that we're going to see here with Avengers Doomsday. If you guys have already checked out the trailer, you already know Fantastic Four is going to be there. X-Men, that's going to include Gambit, Cyclops, Mystique, Charles Xavier, and Magneto. I don't know if they're going to have Wolverine or Deadpool in there. It doesn't seem like it. Who knows? You also got the Thunderbolts, and then Shang-Chi and the Black Panther. That's going to be included in that. So you saw those characters within the trailer. Not sure how big the role's going to be, but if it's something like Infinity Wars and Endgame, it might be an all-star cast where people may get less lines, obviously. But, of course, the main characters, that being of Robert Downey Jr., Steve Rogers, Chris Evans playing Steve Rogers, and also Chris Hemsworth playing Thor. And then, you know, again, I think they're going to have Banner in there. He's going to be in Spider-Man's movie, but, you know, we'll see. We'll see how it plays out. I mean, I'm just, you know, I want to stick to the trailer because I don't want to theorize because, I mean, we can go down a rabbit hole for hours and talk about who might be in there because we're talking about the entirety of the Marvel Universe. Like we had talked about, now last year, Marvel skipped part of the Hall H last year, and they only skipped, from what I understand, the panels, but they did still release some trailers from last year, and I can't remember exactly what they were. But this year they returned, you know, again with Marvel's Avengers Doomsday. Now the Doomsday trailer had a panel, and it's making them first major public push for the film. So we're seeing a lot of publicity going out. We're seeing trailers, people getting excited, people doing reaction videos, and you also have people doing fan videos. I try to avoid those things. I don't know, it's a letdown for me sometimes. But talking about the actual trailer and in the panel that was done, I don't know how to feel about it because for some part of me is like, you know, superhero fatigue, and it's not quite what you might think. Not superhero fatigue as it pertains to how do I want to say this, like breadth, like as many Marvel movies that's come out after Endgame. It's I would say the lackluster. You know, I haven't been too excited ever since Endgame, and to be honest with you, I hadn't been excited since Infinity War. Infinity War was kind of like the zenith for me. Endgame, you know, it was kind of like a follow-up, if you will. Not saying it was bad. I mean, it was still, you know, I still watch it every now and again. But I'm not entirely sure how to feel about Avengers Doomsday. You know, I mean, we'll wait and see. I might not go the first weekend. I might try to wait like the next weekend just to see, what other people think, and that's probably not the best way to go about some things, but I still want to hear the reviews, and I'll try to peel apart some of the objective bits that people might list. Try to stay away from emotions, but just look at how people see the movie playing out. And that's kind of the approach, you want to take anyways when you're trying to review a product and you're looking at other people's opinions. Is it rooted in fact, or is they just hate the product altogether? So we'll see how it plays out. Now, if you guys have not grown up in the 90s, then the name Rick Moranis may not ring a bell for you. And if you haven't grown up in the 60s and 70s, Mel Brooks may not ring a bell for you unless you heard of Mel Brooks in Spaceballs, the original movie that was created by Mel Brooks. And funny movie. If you guys don't know, it was a parody of Star Wars, and they called it the Schwartz, and they had just these funny characters. John Candy, God rest his soul, who played Barf. I think his name was Barf, which is supposed to be like a parody of Chewbacca. And you had some other characters, parodying as Han Solo. I want to say somebody parodied as Luke Skywalker. I can't remember, but somebody did parody as Princess Leia. But it was like, if you haven't seen it, I'll go check it out. It's pretty funny. I think it's some family fun to check out. Something made in the 80s, so you're gonna see some 80s tech in there. I think it's also a parody of Aliens. So it was just, it was a time when, it was slapstick comedy, and it wasn't, I guess, as brutal as it was, as you might see today. Not as crass, but then again, the last time I saw, I think I was a kid, so I might not have been hip to some of the nuances within that movie. But I'm getting off topic here, so I'm going into a rabbit hole. But Rick Moranis is returning after decades away. He received a massive standing ovation and joked about something. He's quoted saying, "I wasn't tired, I was just negotiating." And, of course, the people that were there on the panel with him kind of, gave it a chuckle. I think the audience laughed. I thought it was funny. Because it's like, he's been gone for decades. The last time I saw him, I think was in Honey, I Shrunk the Kids series. If you haven't seen that series, go check it out. It's funny. It's good family fun. So Mel Brooks, now 100 years old, my goodness, sent a video message. Daphne Zuniga is back. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing that name. Daphne Zuniga is back. Bill Pullman returns with his son Louis, plus Keke Palmer and Josh Gad join the cast, and that's going to be released next year. So yes, it's going to be April next year. I was hoping to be released sooner because it's just straight. Look, if it's nostalgia bait, then consider me baited. You know what I'm saying? It's Spaceballs. It was funny. I remember it being funny as a kid, and I might go watch it again because I might notice some things I didn't notice as a child. So just to check it out. So, like I said, the nostalgia factor is strong, in my opinion, and we'll see how it plays out. Now, on to The Lantern. Now, this is actually going to be a TV series that's going to be released on HBO Max, and it's going to be the new Lanterns trailer, which I checked it out. I actually just checked it out about a couple hours ago because I didn't know it was out, but I had a look at it. It seems somewhat interesting, but I don't know. Again, this is off a trailer. This isn't the entire series, but it almost looks like Jon Stewart is going to be replacing Hal Jordan. So Hal Jordan in this series starts off as an older person, and then Jon Stewart is the younger, who looks to be replacing him. So I'm not entirely sure what the directionality of that is, other than potential replacement. But I was hoping to see Hal Jordan, star in it and then do his whole space cowboy ranger thing. But, again, just going to let us see what it is. I don't make too quick snap judgment. So we got some people coming in playing Sinestro, which is a gentleman named Ulrich Thomason, and also confirms that this is going to be a narrative around a major threat called the Manhunters. Now, if you've never heard of the Manhunters, they're this diabolical robotic police force that the blue guys, the Owens, the Owens, the guys, I forget what they're called, but the blue guys had created to be a police force for the galactic space, for the galaxy, and they ended up killing people and ended up turning into a tyrannical force that just started wiping out all carbon-based life, and they had to be decommissioned. So we're gonna see how that is portrayed in the HBO Max Lanterns series. Now, the guy who's going to be playing it is going to be Kyle Chandler. If you're not familiar with his works, you might have saw him in Godzilla, the newest Godzilla, and I want to say he played in a few other TV shows. I want to say Varsity Blues, but I could be wrong. So we also have Anne Pierre, which is going to be playing the Jon Stewart role, which is going to be the lead role, and Nathan Fallon showing up as Guy Gardner. So it'll be interesting to have Nathan Fallon. If you're not familiar with Nathan Fallon's works, he voices the cartoon character for Hal Jordan on the Justice League cartoons. Now, this series starts out next month, coming on the 16th of August. I might subscribe just to check it out, see what it's all about. You know, just do a little quick 30-day subscription or something. But, you know, like I said, man, I mean, I've been saying this a lot, but, you know, I just because I want to tell myself not to rush to judgment, because, you know, I would say almost like a gray pill, you know, if that makes any sense, because I don't want to be negative, but I don't want to be so ignorantly optimistic that I walk in with all these high hopes and then it's just a letdown. But again, I don't want to appear to be so negative that I miss the point, that I miss an opportunity to actually enjoy it. And that's just a personal thing. You know, I think a lot of us are dealing with superhero fatigue, and they're kind of just tired of being let down, being told they're a horrible person, people pushing narratives and ideologies and stuff like that, and politics, and they kind of just want to dismiss all that stuff. Not saying that politics doesn't have an impact on our lives, and that it can't be in certain fanfic films, but when it becomes the message, when it becomes the narrative, it can, tend to draw people away from it, whatever spectrum of politics you're on. Let's be honest. We want escapism. We want imaginary things that don't make sense, or things that are relative to reality, but not exactly reality. So, not telling anybody how to think or what to believe or tell them what their politics are, but that's the reality of the situation, is escapism. And people just want to relax and not be reminded of real things. That's why I like watching cartoons. And that's why I'm in the space that I'm in now, is because, just to dream a bit, to imagine things, being a superhero like Spider-Man, my main man Spider-Man, favorite superhero of all time. I got the shirt. I got some other Spider-Man stuff. Like, we're not going to get into that, but I would say I'm cautiously optimistic about Avengers Doomsday. I may go see it the day of. Who knows? I mean, it's a good time to get out, run into some fans and, just have a good old fashioned time. Hopefully it turns out to be good. I mean, I don't want it to fail. I want it to be good. I want it to be awesome. I want it to be epic. Some lasers and, and beams shooting from space, like Spaceballs or something. So, again, I'll say this for the 8th time, we'll just see how it plays out, and we'll just go from there and move amicably. If it doesn't turn out to be good, we still got the old stuff. Remember, sometimes it's always good to look inward and see the things that you already, be thankful for the things that you already have, versus trying to go and find the next thing. Sometimes the next thing is a thing that you already have. Want what you have. So that is the message. Like I was saying earlier, Comic-Con 2026 is delivering some of the biggest tickets, like the MCU front, which is finding room for surprise emotional highs. Again, with Avengers Doomsday, the Hall H panel results are still rolling in at the time of this recording, and expect more. Can expect more details when you check out the links that I've left in the description on what is going on. So, hey guys, I thank you for watching. I appreciate it. If you are enjoying the content, smash that like button. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Latest updates on the latest uploads for the latest content. It's the Crown One signing off, and I'll talk to you guys later.